David DeWalta. I'm currently in my Berlin studio in Berlin-Kreuzberg, and this is the continuation from the previous video in which I was doing a performance and talking about the performance. In this video we want to talk about some tips around workflow and multi-tracking in particular. I've been making music for a long time. I'm originally a jazz musician, studied jazz at the conservatory in Berlin, and then growing up in Berlin I found myself embracing electronic music and producing electronic music. My first release came out in 2007, so about 14 years ago, and I started with a very minimal setup. But over the course of the 14 years, I realized that there are benefits, in particular when it comes to recording. And that's what I thought I would like to share with you. So I believe that multi-tracking opens up great possibilities for communication to happen within the track. So I look at different patches or different synthesizers in a composition. I look at them almost like musicians, individual musicians, just like you would have in an orchestra, for example. And they communicate. Or in a band, let's say the guitar player plays differently if he plays at the same time as the bass player or the drummer. They interact. And I like to think that interaction plays a big role also in electronic music. And there's a benefit of having things running at the same time and recording them and changing those in real time. It brings a lot of change and organic feeling to the music rather than static composition or static sequencing. So as I'm performing or making changes and recording all these things at the same time, these different instruments are kind of communicating with each other. Music is a thing about feelings and about life and life on earth and sound. So all of these things play a big role, I believe, for music to organically develop. So what I'm doing here in particular is basically, I said this in the other video already, is having multiple tracks laid out, usually 16 tracks, plus another 2 for effects. And those have direct outputs on my mixer in this particular case, but you can do the same thing with a simple sound card, an 8-channel sound card, or even just a 2-channel sound card with an light pipe extension, an ADAT extension for additional input channels. So you would just plug all of your instruments that you have, plug them into the inputs of your sound card, and set up, in Ableton, set up a session that has multiple tracks, and try to play as many things as possible at the same time with sequencers, or it could be the computer, a VST inside the computer, or other things outside. In my example from before, I have recorded multiple tracks at the same time. They now appear as one large block. And what I would be doing now is producing around this material. So I have 16 minutes of material here. And I would go ahead and delete the things that I don't like, the parts that I don't like, and leave the parts in that I do like, but also make shorter samples. So for example, say, I know that this works well here. This digitact, or let's say the digitone loop over here, I could just go ahead and take that section. Since I have 60 minutes of material recorded, I can easily go in and take whatever I need and make multiple tracks, copy, etc. And for example, take just one small part out of that multi-tracking thing. So the benefit of multi-tracking as opposed to overdubbing is also, from a creative perspective, that in the end, overdubbing, you're writing something in the moment, you have an idea, cool bass line or whatever, and then 10 minutes later or 30 minutes later, I'm writing a pad, and I'm putting that pad on top, but the pad is, I almost like the pad more. Let's say, it has something inside that doesn't work with the bass. So I'm reevaluating what I have written 30 minutes ago. And then another 30 minutes or an hour later, I find this other thing. And I'm constantly reevaluating and thinking what fits on what I've recorded before, or actually throwing stuff away from the ideas that I've had before. Versus when you do multi-tracking, you're basically just composing everything at the same time. You're thinking, okay, the bass player obviously is going to have to play in tune or work something out with the keyboarder in that way, you know? And that's a big benefit, I think, in writing music that way. Yeah, so over here, back to the computer, I would now go ahead and basically arrange this whole thing, create a song basically, take the parts out that I do like, almost like resample myself. Let's say the saxophone here, for example, in the beginning I remember I was doing some cool stuff. I would go ahead and create an arrangement and basically a song based on the raw material that I've multi-tracked. If you guys have any questions regarding this production tip from my side, you can leave a comment below, or go to my website DeWalta.com, where you will find different services that I offer for private classes, as well as mixing and engineering services.